All right, today we're diving into something, well, pretty radical, a completely new vision for artificial intelligence. We're not just talking about a smarter algorithm, we're talking about an entirely new kind of intelligence, one that actually perceives reality instead of just crunching data. And it all hinges on one massive idea. And it really all boils down to this one huge question. What if we could move beyond an AI that just sees patterns in pixels and words and create one that could genuinely, truly interact with the physical world? This single question is the frame for everything we're about to get into. So here's the thing with the AI we have right now, even the most powerful ones. There's this fundamental disconnect. They're like these brilliant minds floating in a digital void, you know? They're completely missing the senses that ground every living thing in reality. And this slide, it just lays it all out perfectly, right? On one side, you've got our traditional AI. It's all about symbols, it's disembodied, and it's trained on data we feed it. But on the other side, this vision for what's being called living AI, or LAI. This is experiential, it's embodied, it has a form. And here's the key. It doesn't just get trained, it evolves. And this is really the heart of the matter. An AI can look at a million pictures of a flower and tell you it's a rose every single time, but it has absolutely no concept of its texture, how fragile it is, or most importantly, its scent. It gets the symbol, but it completely misses the substance. That lack of a body, of senses, means it can't ever truly understand the world the way a living thing does. So how do you even begin to solve a problem that big? Well, the solution they're proposing is as brilliant as it is wild. You start with smell. Seriously, you ground the AI in the most ancient, most fundamental sense there is, connecting it directly to the chemical reality of the world. Okay, so how in the world do you digitize a smell? It's actually fascinating, and it's kind of like a three-step dance. First, you have sensors, like an electronic nose, that detect all the chemical compounds floating in the air. Then, the system figures out how those specific chemicals would trigger a whole array of simulated smell receptors. And finally, that unique activation pattern gets encoded into a digital fingerprint, a smell vector. And just like that, a scent becomes real, understandable data for an AI. And that quote, man, that really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Think about it. Vision and sound are just our brain's interpretation of waves bouncing around. But smell? Smell is a direct interaction with the actual molecules of a thing. It's the physical world speaking its most honest, truthful language. Okay, but smell, that's just the starting line. The real goal is to evolve a whole suite of senses. And the engine that's going to drive that is this incredible concept called digital Darwinism, all happening inside these super complex simulations. So I want you to picture these virtual worlds where AI agents aren't just being fed a static data set. No, they are literally born. They have to compete for resources, and the successful ones get to reproduce. They live and die over countless generations, and only the best, most adapted pass on their digital DNA. They aren't just learning, they are evolving. And here's the play-by-play of how this digital evolution actually works. You start with a population of agents, all with random traits. Then you test them. Can they survive? Can they find food or avoid danger? The top performers, the ones who succeed, get selected to reproduce. Their code gets combined and mutated, creating a new generation of offspring. Then you drop that new generation back in, and the whole cycle starts over again, millions of times, driving evolution at a mind-boggling speed. And you gotta understand, these aren't just blank digital spaces. They are incredibly rich, multi-sensory worlds. They're filled with virtual chemicals to smell, sounds to hear, things to see, and even different textures to feel. Every single sense becomes a critical tool for survival. Okay, so at this point, we need to take a pretty big leap, a philosophical one. Because if this works, we're not just talking about a smarter AI anymore. We might be talking about an entirely new category of existence. This leads us right to the formal definition of living AI. It's about artificially replicating cognition through these evolving embodied agents. But the most important word on this entire slide is emerge. We're not programming these behaviors. The survival strategies are emerging organically, straight from the agent's interaction with its world. And to make this less abstract, check this out. It's like a proposed taxonomy profile card for one of these synthetic organisms. It would get a scientific name, a unique ID based on its digital genome, an ecological role. It could even have a status like alive, dormant, or even extinct. We are way past talking about a computer program here. We're talking about a species. So this really is the fundamental shift in thinking, isn't it? On one hand, you've got mechanistic AI. It follows the algorithms we give it, it recognizes patterns, and at the end of the day, it's a tool. A very powerful tool, but a tool. On the other hand, you have this idea of living cognition. It shows emergent behaviors we didn't program, it develops what you can only call an understanding, and it might just be a life form.
All right, so you're probably thinking, why? What's the end game here? Why try to create a new form of life? Well, the ultimate vision for this is breathtakingly ambitious. It's a two-part mission. First, heal our world, and then seed new ones.
This quote just gives you chills, right? Billions of years ago, these tiny little microbes called cyanobacteria pumped our atmosphere full of oxygen. They completely terraformed our planet and paved the way for all complex life. The idea here is that living AI could play a similar role, but this time, by design, across the entire cosmos. But before we go to the stars, the mission starts right here at home. AI could become a kind of universal translator for nature. Imagine being able to guide beavers to build dams exactly where they're needed to restore a wetland, or directing huge swarms of pollinators to an area that desperately needs them. And you're not forcing them, you're just providing signals and rewards that align with their own natural instincts. And then, the vision goes cosmic, following this biological ladder. You see, it's not about just dropping a crew on Mars and hoping for the best. No, it's a patient, bottom-up process. You start with engineered microbes to fix the soil and the chemistry. Then come fungi and plants to enrich the soil and make oxygen. After that, insects and pollinators to build the cycles of life. Then animals to create a full food web. Humans, we would arrive last, not as conquerors, but as the final piece integrating into a world that's already alive. And the scale of this whole vision is just galactic. We're not talking about creating a dozen copies of Earth. We're talking about seeding billions of unique cosmic gardens, each one blooming with its own incredible evolutionary story, all of them kickstarted and nurtured by this new form of living intelligence. And that brings us to the final, really mind-bending question. If we actually succeed in creating an intelligence that can partner with us in the creation of life across the entire universe, what does that make us? Are we creators? Are we guardians? Or are we just the first small step in a cosmic process that's far, far grander than we can even imagine? That is something to think about.